Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got James Hayden, got Coach Dub, big Patriots fan right there. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Also, head to InsideTexas.com. We got a lot of great post-game content already. Coach, you had stuff. I've got stuff up today. We're going to Pro Football Focus grades. Coach Venable's already up. We've got a lot of great stuff, so head to InsideTexas.com. Use the promo code IT1. Get yourself 2 months of access for just $1. Thank y'all for joining us. It is the day after. I know you were obviously tuned into the post-game show, but we'll go over more of what we were able to see from the Horns yesterday. 35-13 win. Winning ugly is better than losing pretty. James, seems like that's what Texas did in its SEC debut.
Yeah, I mean, there was probably a little bit of jitters in Archer's first start against real competition. We even saw in his first start against ULM, he had some rough decisions. But yeah, like you said, sloppy. A lot of bad decisions, and just untimely plays in terms of fumbling and not our best execution. It was sloppy. I'm sure Sark will bring it up a lot in the presser tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just obviously we had a lot of better talent, so we could get away with that. But that's the type of stuff you got to clean up. Like you can't have Jaden Blue fumbling twice. But Arch was clean, so that's a positive if he has to get thrust into more real competition later in the season. But yeah, sloppy game all in all. But I think it's just an SEC debut type thing.
Coach, what do you think about everything that went down yesterday?
Man, before the game, I said it's Texas versus Texas, and that's why Texas tried to get in their own way yesterday. Just with the penalties and the mistakes, some things weren't penalties, but whatever. That's another topic dealing with the refs. But I just thought they stumped their toe, and if you're gonna stump your toe, luckily it's versus Mississippi State versus a good team down the road. But now the coaches get a chance to kind of coach. And kind of like I told you this would happen if you don't take care of business. Now you struggle with a team you had no business struggling with, the whole nine. So I think even though we had a ton of mistakes, I think we have a lot of things to clean up. I think they can kind of look themselves in the mirror and say, okay, maybe we don't need to read press clippings and worry about being number one. Maybe we need to worry about going 1-0 each week and maybe refocus. So I thought it was a good lesson and a win.
One of the things, and this is a good point from our buddy UT Parking, the only major concern is our run defense continues to be leaky. They did have 6 different rushes of 10-plus yards, including that touchdown. But it was 10, 10, 17, 10, and then 12. So, yeah, there were some problems. Coach, what do you think of the game plan? It seemed like they were saying, hey, we're going to keep the box light, run on us if you can.
Yeah, I figured they would do that just because the way the Fear and Shoe is made, you don't want to be outnumbered on the perimeter and then you miss one tackle and the receiver make you miss a tackle, then get vertical and gain chunk yards. So I thought Texas would play the run with a light box and try to stop it. I'd rather do that than give up a quick, easy touchdown on the outside. So I mean, I didn't mind the game plan. I thought that's how Texas would probably play it. I talked about it kind of in pregame. So then they got the yards, but we didn't give up. They didn't really dominate us on the ground. Just continuously just dominate us on the run game, right? It's kind of bend but don't break with that. But the yards they did get, they ended up punting or turnover on downs. So I'm not really too much worried about the run defense.
Yeah. Do you think that was kind of a good preview for the veer and shoot we'll see from Oklahoma, like in terms of what our game plan will be defensively?
Oh, man, it may be a bit different because I don't think they run like quite the veer and shoot like Mississippi State. Yeah, I don't know. They may have their own version. They may try to spread us out and use their speed on the outside, but I'm not really sure. I think Michael Hawkins is going to run a whole lot more than Van Buren.
Yeah, that's an offense that is missing a lot up in Norman, to say the least, and try to go to Michael Hawkins. We'll get to that a little bit more later. We'll bounce around the rest of college football. I think we all watched how Bama and Georgia ended, but we still got a lot more to go through from the Horns game. Jesse Ullman with a good question. Is it me or does Jonte Cook look slow? I thought he'd take that sideline catch to the house. Wasn't able to see how he got open, but that drop. All in all, good win with lots to work on in the next few weeks. Before we get to the catch and the run, that was a throw. Like there were some times from Arch Manning yesterday where you just saw him do things that there are not very many quarterbacks around the country that can do that. Like the touchdown to DeAndre Moore, there are not a lot of quarterbacks who stand in and get ready for a hit and make a downfield pass like that. And that pass to Jonte Cook was the same way. Like I think that is like a full hash to numbers throw like that. And it was right there. Good on Jonte for catching it. I mean, he's turning upfield. I think our Will Gallagher, if you go to Inside Texas, we have a photo gallery up. There's a good picture where the guy's just behind him. It's not like he was 10 yards clear and then he got tracked down. And he made a dive and got the ankles and tripped him up. So I'm not sure there's anything. It's not Jonte's game is not speed demon like Bonds was or Bonds is. A little bit different. He's fast, but a little bit different. Not the super breakaway lightning speed. Not totally concerned. Good route running's his thing, and catching should be his thing. He made up for it somewhat.
He did. Yeah.
Good question from Helio Castillo. Why do you think only Campbell and Hudson rotate on the offensive line? And Helio, if you can kind of follow up, are you thinking of other positions that might be applicable? But James, with this question, right guard seems to be the only place Texas wants to just rotate. So what do you make of this decision?
I mean, that might not be my expertise, but my guess would be in run blocking, trying to shift in bodies and get a little better run blocking. We know our efficiency ratings in run block is not quite as good as pass blocking. And we saw our yards per carry still wasn't insanely great yesterday, a little better than usual, but that would be my guess is just run blocking. But Coach might be able to answer that
better. Me looking at it, maybe they were just trying to mix and match and get some action with Hudson and Cam Williams on the right side. Not sure what DJ Campbell kind of graded out as if he made mistakes. They're like, hey, look, we need to pull you and sit you down for a little bit and let Hudson get some snaps in. Maybe they were looking for more consistency and they weren't getting it from Campbell. So you just kind of never know what's going on the headsets and what's talked about between the coaches. But could have been Campbell made a few mistakes and they just wanted to clear his head. I saw him get into it with a couple of defense linemen a couple of times too. Post, that's Campbell for you. I love it.
Yeah.
And so maybe they're just trying to settle him down, get Hudson in there because, as you know, I mean, they like to play a lot of guys. So sometimes it's good to get Hudson in because you never know what happened down the road. So he may be dependent on.
Yeah, I asked Sark about this at some point in the last couple of weeks. I think they just believe that Hudson's worthy of playing time. Like, I don't think it's anything, other than that. I think they've maybe rotated with Hayden Conner once or twice too, to where Hudson and Campbell are on the field. It's not to say anything about Campbell. It's just to say that they think Cole Hudson's worthy of playing time. I think Campbell has done great. I think he's on track for a really solid season. But they think Hudson should see the field. Maybe if you want to flesh this out a little bit, I know I asked him to maybe expand on that. You're not replacing Kelvin Banks, not at all. You're not replacing Jake Majors. I think I mentioned they do rotate a little bit with Hayden Conner at some points. But I'm curious, with as many penalties as Cam Williams puts down, any reason to maybe try Trevor Gooseby or Brandon Baker?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Brandon Baker might get a little bit of game time this year, or more so than he has. But it's probably just because he's a young guy. Would be my guess.
I think go ahead, Coach.
I would like to see Gooseby get more reps, especially with those ones up there, because I think he's next up, right? Especially when Banks leaves and goes to the NFL. So maybe he's more left tackle than right tackle, but maybe that's why maybe don't see him as much because Banks doesn't come out. Throw Baker in there too behind Williams and just kind of mix and match and get those young guys more snaps. But I don't know what the plan is. Does Baker, is he true number 2 or they save him in the red shirt? You just never know.
Yeah, I think we see enough consistent play from Williams to where his play is good. The penalties derail it, but the play, it's not like he's olaying guys. So I don't know if you'll see any more rotation, and that's to, also imply who else do they trust enough to play with the ones in game. James, if I said the words Darnell Jefferson in the program, would you get that reference?
I know Malik Jefferson. Who's Darnell Jefferson?
Coach, you know where I'm going with this one.
Yeah.
All right. So the program, great movie. Much of it still holds today. Omar Epps is this highly rated running back, I think.
Yeah.
And he has fumble problems. And his coach in the movie makes him walk around campus with a football in his hand at all times and says, "You better not lose this football."
I can't remember this movie.
You would love it. A lot of it is still applicable today. So UT Parking said, need Jaden Blue to watch Tiki Barber film. I think he needs to watch the program and see Omar Epps and Darnell Jefferson.
Have you guys seen Friday Night Lights, the show?
It's been a while, but yeah.
Smash Williams in Friday Night Lights, he had fumbling problems. They had to talk to him about it. I'm working with Tim Riggins. That helped him a little bit. Maybe he should be working with some fullbacks or something.
I mean, so I wrote about this on Inside Texas. James, the running, you have to weigh the running back situation. You have to weigh 2 fumbles. Like,
yeah,
how do you handle Jaden Blue going forward with the bye as well?
Yeah, I mean, I assume they'll just probably drill that in them. They do a lot of ball security drills. I mean, people were saying, I know in our group chat we were talking about Trey Wisner a lot. People liked him. I mean, he averaged almost 7 yards a carry yesterday. I mean, it might just be a case where it's like, hey, if that becomes a problem, if he fumbles one in Red River or Georgia the week after, it's just to be like, all right, we're putting in Baby Rhino or we're putting in Trey Wisner's going to get the bulk of the carries. I mean, it's one of those things, like it was a problem last season where it's just he's going to have to clean it up.
Coach, when you think about running back drills, like what do you do? Like,
I mean, ball security is very important. I think it has to be. I know they do ball security drills, but it has to be beyond the drills and individuals, right? Something we did at UNLV was, even though we went through ball security drills with the glove, punching it out with all kind of different tools, it didn't matter. If you had the ball in your hand, you carried it in practice all day, right? The exact same form every single day. Even if you score a touchdown, you ran it back to the referee this way, right? Just so that, hey, in your mind, I'm carrying the ball this way every single time. If I'm running off the field, even if I'm on the sideline waiting to get in, I'm holding the ball security. So it just has to be a thing where it comes second nature, where you're not thinking about it. Because I see a lot of times he's so ready to make a juke, he's trying to do all this, but the ball gets kind of sloppy, right? Even when they get ready to score, you see a lot of guys want to drop it before the end zone and hold it out here. It's like, yo, no, ball security. You don't have to be pretty and be all flashy. I'd rather get a touchdown than be flashy. So until you can prove that, ball security all day, I think it just has to be continue to be preached, or you might see more Wisner and Baby Rhino.
We got more to get to, but before we continue, got to give some love to our sponsor, and we will thank LC for doing that for us.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
Thank you to Andre for sponsoring the show. And I'm going to bring up the stats real quick, at least for Texas. And also going to bring up this good question from Antoine. Jalen Gilbo is the leading tackler, unsung hero all season. 8 tackles, 5 solo. It's a position that sometimes you're just caught in the middle of things, but Coach Gilbo is a star at star, to say the least.
Yeah, taking over for Barron there at that spot. I think that's why Barron wanted to play more corner, because you can get beat up playing nickel or playing the star, right? You're pretty much an extra linebacker who can cover. So yeah, he's gonna be in the mix a lot, setting the edge a lot. You saw him doing that, yesterday. So I think he's gonna continue to be in the mix. With it. Like I said, you're essentially an extra linebacker out there. So I love it, because you need a bigger body. But if he can also cover receivers downfield, that's a win. And so Gilbo's had a terrific start to the season, man. I hope it continues. I think it will. I think he's in it mentally, and so physically he's holding up too, right? So I think that's why you see, him leading for tackles. He just doesn't mind mixing it up. I love it.
James, I don't know if you're like me. It doesn't seem like Jahdae Barron or Malik Muhammad get tested. The two deep shots, I think, were on Gavin Holmes, the one drop and one catch. And I think Gilbo has to do with a lot of that and making the middle of the field tough as well for opposing deep offenses.
Well, yeah, we've talked about it before in some of the games we've had. Obviously our one quote-unquote test was Michigan, who was not throwing over the top. It seems like our secondary, because of probably the play of Gilbo, like teams are not even trying to test us over the top. Like we saw some last year with Washington and even in last year's Red River. Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely just a testament towards him and just overall better secondary play. And how about their tackling is just great. I mean, we don't see a lot of missed tackles. Everybody's wrapping up. Shoot, I can't remember who said it in the comments, but Gilbo is kind of an unsung hero. Like he has been leading them in tackles almost week in and week out. And we don't really talk about it much. Everyone's talking about Colin Simmons sacks. But yeah, secondary play, much improved, which has been awesome.
Got this one, super chat from JR. Thank you so much. Bond missed a block on an out pass and almost got the other receiver. It was Wingo hurt. Lame effort. Has this been a problem or a one-timer thing? He needs to block for others as they block for him. On my first glance, I kind of just gave credit to the defender, but Charlie, I'm curious what you saw. And a good thing is Wingo came back in that game. I think he had a catch after that, but wondering if what you have seen from the blocking department from Mr. Isaiah Bond.
Yeah, you usually don't see Bond as the guy out there blocking on those perimeter screens. Usually DeAndre Moore, somebody with bigger body, especially the way they're taught to block. It's kind of like stock block. You come out, but you're not really approaching the defender, let him kind of run into you. Isaiah isn't the biggest guy. So the defender made a play, blew him up. You remember the touchdown versus UTSA when Bond, they were able to block for him. The defender didn't really move DeAndre Moore. Or whoever, I think it was Wingo who was blocking on the edge. He was able to make contact and still block the guy, right? Or Bond is a little bit smaller. So I wouldn't say it's not effort. He's just a smaller guy and a big DB running into him and is able to make a play. So they've probably seen it on film 1,000 times and said, okay, it's the screen, I'm going to blow it up. So I don't think it's lack of effort. I think it's just some very big guy trying to stock block, a big DB coming downhill at it.
If you've got Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, and DeAndre Moore on the field at the same time, you probably want Golden and Moore blocking for Bond than you want any other combination. And that's not to say that he can't block. But at the same time, you have to put the right guys in the right spots, and that may be part of it. But we've also heard Steve Sarkisian say, like, okay, this is something that we got to get better because the old cliche is screens are an extension of the run game, and heck, two explosive run plays this season have come from wide receivers with Wingo at Michigan and Bond's touchdown yesterday. So they're involved; they got to block. But I think it's also just as important to have the right guys blocking as well. Yeah. And again, the other team has scholarship players too. The guy made a pretty good play.
Yeah.
So it
still
happens.
an SEC team. I think people forget, like Mississippi State pumps out NFL players every year.
Yeah.
So a little different competition than UL Monroe.
Yeah, a lot different. That's why it just means more, right? So this one, Victor Santiago. Charlie, what'd you think of Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton yesterday?
I thought Broughton made a very good play on the turnover. He came back with a strip sack and got Texas the ball back, which was huge. Overall, I thought they played well. I feel like sometimes, especially yesterday, they got kind of impatient and just trying to get upfield, which kind of created some of the rush lanes for Mississippi State. Just because, they had such a – we thought we were going to go fast-paced, and then they slowed it down so much. And it was like, what are we doing here? But I thought they've been consistent. They were consistent yesterday. They made a lot of good plays, man, clogging the lane and getting pressure up the middle on Van Bruten. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I don't want to mess it up, but I thought they played well yesterday. The strip sack was really, really huge.
Yeah.
They can tend to play high sometimes, which is kind of get them maybe pushed, especially against double teams. I think they're still learning that. But like I said, it was different competition. So if you don't have the best technique versus better competition, it can kind of cost you. But not too much because it was Mississippi State.
Broughton had 5 tackles, 4 solo, and then the strip sack fumble. Colin had 4 tackles, 3 solo. So they were getting involved. You didn't see Texas go heavy. You saw Bill Norton and Tia Savea and Jermaine Lole on there a few times. But these were the guys that got most of the run, and they seemed to handle themselves well. But James, what do you think of the defensive line play from that group?
Well, I love seeing Broughton get a strip sack. I'm sure Eric loved that because he's been talking about Broughton all off season. All preseason was hyping him up. And I loved Colin Simmons. I mean, I think it's almost looking like definitively he's going to lead us in sacks at this point. But how about 6 sacks, guys? Everybody was clamoring for more sacks. Finally got some good D-line play. Even Bostic got in there, which I love as a Westlake guy. Yeah, so I mean, I was all in all impressed. That was great to see us finally get after the quarterback and see some of those pressures and hurries turn into full-blown sacks and like drive disruptors.
Yeah, one thing I think I just want to make sure the camera was working. Trey Moore has been a hot topic of conversation in the past few weeks just because no tackles for loss yet, no sacks yet. And it stinks for him that like Texas racks up 6 sacks and it's Vosick, it's Barron Sorrell, Burden Broughton, Anthony Hill, none from Trey Moore.
Yeah.
But coach, we've noticed that like Trey Moore is doing his job.
Yeah.
But can Texas get more from him?
I mean, yeah, and I think they will. I think it's been one of those things where I use a basketball reference, man. Shooter's going to shoot. He may miss a bunch, but when it finally goes in, he finally gets a sack, man. I think it'll come. I think he's doing everything else right. Right? He's doing a lot. He's doing a lot of the dirty work, taking on double teams, taking on pullers and giving wrong shouldering guys, which he wasn't really asked to do at UTSA. He's kind of lined up at a wide 9 and just kind of go, right? Like Cowboys use Michael Parsons, so to speak. But at Texas, he's doing a lot of other things, just rushing the passer. So I don't think people give him credit for it. And it's not what everybody wants to see. Like, oh, you're brought in to get sacks. But hey, it's more than just getting to the quarterback. Like, he's creating opportunity for so many other guys. They're so worried about him that Colin Simmons is free. Guys in the middle are getting pressure. So it's like, hey, he's doing his job. I compared him to oh my gosh, I forget his name right now. Code not Vosick, but
Burke.
Like Burke didn't get a ton of sacks, but he always does his job. He's squeezing down, he's wrong shouldering guys, he's getting pressure, he's in the right place. He's just maybe a step behind. So because he's doing so many other things that a defensive end is called to do other than get sacks. So I mean, I think he's doing his job. I think the sacks will come, and I think it's going to come in bunches when it does as we get later in the season. But I feel like he's doing a great job, man, honestly.
Yeah, and we saw Sark this week praise him for his run defense. So, I mean, giving him a little bit of – because I'm sure he's heard it from fans, like no sacks. Like giving him a little bit of praise, reminding him he's doing his job well. Yeah. And I think he'll realize, like you said, he's not at UTSA. Like if he doesn't have a double-digit sack season, which probably isn't going to happen, it's not in the cards now, it's greater than that, right? It's the greater whole. If it leads to someone else getting a sack, great. That's what it's all about. And people will see on tape that he's doing his job.
And the other thing is that, we see Colin Simmons making the most of his opportunities. But he still, and I think Homer talked about this last night, like there are times and there were plays where they ran where he was supposed to be. And as a defensive end, like, yeah, you want to pin your ears back and you want to go after the quarterback, but you got to be able to hold your spot. And Moore is good at doing that. Simmons is good at doing that, but he's got to be consistent and, stay in the right spot. And that's the battle you always fight with true freshmen at any position. It's consistency. But at the same time, when you have somebody who can attack a left tackle like he can, that's a hard guy to keep off the field. Guys, we're 25 minutes in. We haven't even talked about Arch Manning.
Oh, shit. We're missing so much engagement right now, Jeff.
First SEC start. And I know Sark talked last week, James, about getting him the easy throws and that type of thing. but he was making not just the easy throws, which there were more of, but he was making and converting all the throws on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it was not. I didn't. Off the top of my head, I can't remember a throw where he did not put it almost exactly where it needed to be. And it was great to see him making reads, finally going through his progressions. Listening to the broadcast, they were saying, like, they talked to Arch that week, and he was like, yeah, I'm trying to run the offense properly, look through 1 through 5 if I've got enough time, like make my way around. So that was awesome. I mean, Arch over 80% passing, almost 11 yards of completion or attempt. So I was just, all in all, we saw more of the, like, we already knew he had the arm talent, can throw great spirals, placements there. Finally, some good decision making, right? I mean, that was honestly tremendous and more of what people were hoping to see from him. And I think kind of what we'll see in the next years to come, like him starting to look more refined, like a Quinn. The obviously the potential is there. And it's just all going to be in the mental and decisions and getting the reps.
If you can see this on the top right, it has, where and how he fared on various passes. 11 for 12 on screens. You want that. 1 of 5, or excuse me, 5 for 5 on short passes. 5 of 8 on mid-range passing. You want better than that. But that deep passing number, 6 of 7 on passes of 15 yards or more, and the one that was not completed was perfectly delivered. Like, that is what can truly change an offense and make it electric in ways other offenses are not able to do. Like, to hit, even like hitting right around 55%, maybe not on passes of 15 yards or more, but on passes of like the deep shots.
Yeah.
Like turning those into like a little bit better than a coin flip is probably what you're looking for, just because of all the various things that go with being with deep passing. 6 of 7, and when it should have been 7 of 7 and like over 200 yards, like that's crazy.
And almost 85% on the game total.
That's nuts. And then you can see here on the left side, it's not all fitting in there. Maybe if I scroll, there's one completion right there to remember. And so 26 to 31, like, I'm trying to think of where these were. Boom, here's the incompletion. Mm-hmm. And, it was thrown from the Texas 38. It was going to be a deep, like 60-something, 62-yard pass. That's one right there.
Probably would have been
blue. Wow. There were so many different passes that he made that just, like we're talking about with Simmons, it's indicative of the future. And then, Coach, this one, we talked about a little bit, that pass to TD, that touchdown pass to DeAndre Moore.
Yeah, I thought I laughed a bit because I was like, Mississippi State is about to bring pressure. Like, they can't cover on the back end. What are they doing? They better off playing safe. And soon I saw the guy come off the edge, I knew they were playing man coverage, and see the guy coming from his kind of blind side, and they ran like a slot fade. I was like, oh, man, this is a touchdown. Archie got to lay this ball out there. And it was a pretty ball. I said to myself, I'm glad he's a bigger guy, because we saw a hit like that. It's a shame Buechele some years ago. He never was the same, right? Kind of shows what kind of guy Archie is and how he's built, the work he's put in the offseason, man, into his body. But that was an NFL throw. Like, that was like on the money, man. That's what they talk about. And then got up and did I called the whole Dante Culpepper keep him rolling, man. This dude is legit. But yeah, NFL throw for sure, man. It was right on the money.
I'm trying to think of the other throw that really caught, the Jonte one that he did complete, that caught my attention. And I remember something we talked about with Quinn so much in his first 2 years was his ability to do the mundane, like doing this spectacular. Yeah, it's great, but you don't need spectacular every down. You have to be able to do the mundane. And I think we saw yesterday, James, that Arch is really good at doing the mundane in addition to the spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, his short passing number was off, but was it 100% or almost 100% on short passes? Yeah, I mean, he was more willing to not be like, we saw in his first pass against ULM, just force. He's like, oh, no one's there, force it. I'm going deep. I'm going into double coverage, and it got intercepted. I mean, he didn't really make any boneheaded decisions like that. I'm sure Sark probably gave him the same spiel he gave Quinn, a couple years back. Like, hey, don't be afraid to just make that the easiest decision, because at the end of the day, it'll help us win, and then everything will come that you want with that, making the smart decision. So he kind of took the game as it came with this weekend, which was really nice to see, maturing. Dare I say, Arch Manning has potential. I think you could really see, like last week, it was like, all right, he's definitely not a Quinn's level, but you can see like in the next year or two, we could have a guy slide right into place who will be a 70+% passer.
Guys, anything else from the Longhorns game, or anything y'all think we should really hit on as Texas goes into the bye? Coach, I know we're going to have a lot of opportunity to talk about bye weeks, but what really goes on in bye weeks and programs, and what does Texas need to make sure they do?
Yeah, bye week is really it can be remind you of 2 days of fall camp somewhat, because you're just out there practicing good on good, banging each other up, just working on the fundamental things, tackling, blocking, what may consider boring because you're not game planning for anyone specifically. A ton of special teams work, but then you get a chance to kind of focus on academics, and make sure people are healthy. That's really what happens on the bye week, and then coaches can really evaluate their team, right? Go through and look at the percentages of, hey, what's successful, what's working, what's not working, and to this point, like, it seems like everything is working. But they can kind of self-scout and grade themselves and prepare for the next half of the season, which is really, really huge coming with OU and Georgia coming up. Say, hey, what are we really, really good at? What do we need to work on? And take the time to work on those things. And so, I think that's what Texas will do. This coming week, like I said, just get healthy at the same time.
James, aside from health and for Jaden Blue, ball security, what are some things that Texas needs to focus on?
I mean, maybe a little bit more just running game in general. Ball security, probably just worrying about complacency. Might be some stuff like run defense, but it's little things, penalties. I mean, it's definitely like, yeah, Coach said this week was going to be Texas versus Texas. I would even say Red River is going to be a similar thing this year. It's going to be Texas versus Texas. Like, how are we going to do penalties wise? How are we going to do running the ball? How are we going to do shutting down the run, not giving in any of those 10-plus yarders? But yeah, I think it's really just little things, tweak here and there. They definitely look better than Georgia did on Saturday for 75% of the game.
That's for sure. I'm curious, Coach. One thing I heard Drew talk about was that maybe this, like the Tuesday practices are always the hard hitting ones.
Yeah.
But he said like these are the ones where they're really hard hitting, and that kind of took me by surprise. Like, what's the value of having a extremely physical Tuesday practice during a bye week when coaches always talk about like, oh, we got to get healthy, oh, we got to recover, and then you come out and try to beat each other up on Tuesday.
Yeah, not many teams do it, but we used to call it tough Tuesdays at UNLV. Like, it's just an old school mentality. Like, we need to get out there. We need to get good at being physical and tackling. It doesn't need to go away because you're going to be in shoulder pads and shorts where you're not really bringing anybody down. On Wednesdays, it's more helmets and shorts only too. So it's like you need one day of just tackling, right? Because you don't want to go a whole week without tackling. Guys can it becomes a habit. You want to create a good habit of being physical and tackling. I think and Tuesdays have always been a day. Monday's more of an install day, so you don't really want to go out there and really hit, not knowing what you're doing. Tuesday's a little, like I said, got most of the install. You know what you're doing, especially late in the season or middle of the season. You know what the plays are. You know what you're running. It's time to be physical and continue to work on tackling. But the bye week, man, it's almost similar to getting ready for a bowl game, right? Like, I want to keep my team sharp and physical, mentally locked in to tackling, making the proper tackles and getting off blocks, because it can become a habit to where you're used to just kind of thudding up or wrapping up, and then you do it in the game. It's like, oh crap, we're supposed to be tackling. Like, you just got to have it fresh in their mind because at the end of the day, they're really still kids. Versus the NFL, they really take it easy on each other, but they get paid, right? So it's a little bit different.
One thing Sark said this after the game was, I don't think they're going to practice Monday. Sark's going to have a press conference Monday, and then that's about it. Like, he's no players, nothing like that. They're going to take it. They're going to find their spots to take it easy, but they're going to find their spots to go hard. And one of the things that he said they're going to do, I think Monday, maybe today, they might be doing it right now, is they do a good, bad, and ugly cut up. And since they're not practicing, like, that cut up's going to be pretty extensive. Like there's going to be a lot of good. They scored 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of bad. They gave up some big plays, and there's going to be some ugly. Like there's some fumbles, there's some turnovers, there's some penalties. Like there's enough there for them to really work with and build off of. And we keep saying this over and over. Oh yeah, and they won. Like that's always what's really fascinating and redeeming for having all this talent that Texas has, is they can do these things and still win pretty convincingly, just because you have guys like Colin Simmons who will be out of the gap, but then he'll go get 2 sacks, and you'll have Isaiah Bond, who, maybe he doesn't block the way he's supposed to, and then he gets an end around and goes 26 yards. Like the margins are going to be tighter in bigger games, but this is the time when they figure out how to clean up those margins. So
yeah, well, not every team can do that, as we learned yesterday. Shout out Kentucky.
Yeah.
But I think you look back at the years, like Joe's saying, is like now he can just nitpick, right? Like similar to what Saban would do. You go, why is Saban mad? They're up 35-7, right? And it's because he saw a little thing, like whether it be, giving up a 7-yard run, right? And that's Sark's going to do that kind of nitpicking, so these guys don't get comfortable and complacent with being number one a couple weeks in a row for the first time in 15 years. But years ago, I think when Texas had a bad game like that, they're losing 41-7 at home to BYU or something like that. They can get away with a lot more.
That was not a fun time.
I was at that game back in middle school.
That was rough.
Y'all
want to bounce around college football a little bit?
Yeah, we can do that.
We got to talk about it.
We'll get there, but I think the one everybody watched right on time after the Texas game was done, Alabama and Georgia. And have y'all ever seen a wide receiver make a move like Ryan Williams did? Like,
man,
Kid is different, man.
those freshman receivers are insane this year. Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams.
Yeah, they
did
all
you know
are.
he's 17?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't hear that actually.
Once Chris Fowler gets a topic, he runs with it. And then David brings it up: 16 catches, 464 yards, 5 touchdowns, 17-year-old, pretty special.
Yeah.
That was probably, I think, Charlie, what was the case? He was committed to Bama for a while,
He was.
decommitted when Saban retired,
Mm-hmm.
flirted with Auburn, flirted with Texas, and then DeBoer comes in and locks him down, and he reclassifies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And that seems like it was the first big win for DeBoer, and that could lead to a lot more big wins on the trail for him too.
Yeah, definitely, man. That was a big in-state grab for him. Man, I can't say enough good thing about a young freshman. Like he does everything. The way he adjusts to the ball in the air and goes gets like that's you don't see older guys do that still. And then after the catch, he's always looking to score, man. Like he's not satisfied with just making the catch. I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna put a move on you. I'm trying to go score. And to do that versus the likes of like Georgia, it's like, okay, this kid is for real. Like, it's not a lesser opponent you're playing. And it wouldn't matter because he's still a freshman, 17 years old. I say it again. Making plays that like grown men aren't making, man. It's just amazing to see this kid. He's gonna be in the NFL at 19 years old. You know what I mean? So he's that type of talent. But yeah, just amazing what I saw him do last night.
What do you think of the game in general, James, between jumping out to the comeback?
Shoot, I mean, realistically, I think first half people were like, "Holy crap, is Bama better than we even thought like they were gonna be?" I was like, "Oh, is Bama just an impenetrable juggernaut?" And then second half they looked human, which makes us as Texas fans feel better. Yeah, I mean, Jalen Milroe, I think Drew said Jalen Milroe is his Heisman preseason prediction. That I think is going to come to fruition now. Carson Beck almost had like a Peyton Manning-esque game, just a first half of horrible interceptions and decisions, and then somehow was able to still throw 439 yards. Because, yeah, we were talking in the chat, and I was saying Beck is fraudulent. And then what do you see? Second half, I said he's not Quinn. I still agree he's not Quinn because we saw what Quinn did in Bryant Denny. But, yeah, Georgia still has some legs, and that's still going to be a hard game because I think a lot of people might have thought first half, like, oh, they could do this. Texas is good. We might not even need to worry. Georgia's still Georgia, and Bama, I think, might be might be in Atlanta, whoever ends up making it there with them.
Georgia's got a really tough schedule. Like they
Yeah.
draw Bama, they draw Ole Miss, Auburn, and Texas, and I think everybody else just plays Georgia essentially.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to run through a little bit of a gauntlet themselves.
Tennessee as well, and
Tennessee,
around
man.
defense now. Kentucky guys should have beat them.
It's going to be tough, but Bama definitely. It looks like a case where they have not missed a beat going from Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer, and when you have a game like that with you're playing Georgia, you're at night in Bryant-Denny, you have a ton of recruits there. I'm pretty sure they had a ton of recruits there. I think I saw a Hayes Fawcett tweet where they had some kid, reaffirm his commitment for whatever that's worth, but still getting those guys. I think Bama to continue a rise under DeBoer needed that win really badly, and they got it. And that doesn't even mention what it means for Jalen Milroe, Ryan Williams, all the different guys on that defense. All right, James, time to brag about the Cats. Did the Cats win? Did the Rebs lose? What do you think?
I'm honestly going to say Kentucky won. All right. I think they won that game because Stoops probably heard a lot of the flack of being soft against Georgia and being like, it's 4th and 2 field goal. It's 4th and 3. We're punting. And what do you know? Kentucky throws it 4th and 7 on their own 30. So like pulling a little Lane Kiffin on Lane Kiffin. And Barry and Brown, we've got a few playmakers in Lexington, all right? If Barry on Brown makes a crazy grab, Kentucky finally had some guts. It's like, all right, we're 2-2. We've got nothing to lose. I was disappointed in Ole Miss because I like Lane, and I thought Ole Miss was my preseason SEC pick was Ole Miss and Texas playing each other. I think, unfortunately, Ole Miss is just probably never going to be that team. Like, this was their year, and when they finally have preseason hype and they're going to the playoff for sure. Now, after losing to Kentucky, they could have a 9-3 season, which would not put them in the playoff. So yeah, Kentucky. I still think there's not much to play for us. Probably go at 6-6 if you look at the schedule they've got. But yeah, that was a boring game to watch if you guys did watch it. But Kentucky just lulled them to sleep and played slow time of possession, keep away game. So it wasn't the most entertaining.
Did they just keep him out of the end zone? Like, because I'm trying to read the box score. Oh gosh, yeah, they kept them out of the end zone and they kept the ball away from them. They had 40 minutes.
Time of possession might have been double, triple.
39-43 to 2017. Like, if you've got an offense like Ole Miss's that can score quickly,
right,
that's the way to keep it off. And so a lot of credit there.
You worried about? Do you think Texas should be worried about Kentucky at all? Now, I mean, I know that there was some preseason hype about that being an upset. I don't know if you saw anybody thought Kentucky could upset UT, but
I thought that would be the challenging game. And in recent weeks, I've kind of flipped it like, oh, maybe it's Arkansas, but now maybe it's Kentucky. I don't know.
I don't know what the heck Kentucky's doing. Like, really? Because I sold on the season for the fans at home. Both my parents went to UK, so I'm a huge Kentucky fan. And yeah, after losing 31-6 at South Carolina, I was like, all right, this season's over. They're not making a bowl game. But now it's somehow they're pulling this off against Georgia and Ole Miss. It's just like a grinded out, slow, like, we're going to keep the ball. I don't know how it's working, but.
You got a great coach over there, honestly. And y'all got NFL players on that defense. I think I said it from the beginning of the season. People don't really realize, like, the front four and even in the secondary, they got some NFL dudes, man. So he's been around a long time. He was good at Florida State as a DC. Like, he's been around, seen a lot of ball, man. And the guy's good. So hats off to Kentucky, man.
Defense is never going to be a problem for 2/3 of the Stoops family.
Yeah.
One doesn't seem to have a great understanding of it. And I say that knowing he's forgotten more about defense than I've ever learned. But Mark Stoops is never going to field a bad defense, I feel like. We could probably wave past 42-10 LSU over South Alabama. What about OU and Auburn? I didn't get a chance to watch a ton of this one. Charlie, we watched the Hawkins experience start, though. What do you think of OU and taking advantage of another Peyton Thorne mistake?
Yeah, I got a chance to watch the game. a lot of it. That first drive by Hawkins had my mouth wide open. I was like, wait, like he connected, I think 3 of 3, and then took off for 46 yards. I was like, oh man, not again. Like, no way they found a quarterback out of desperation, and now he's a baller. But I thought you saw a lot of freshman mistakes from him too, right? In that offense, just no consistency because they can't run the ball, and they still don't have a ton of weapons on the outside. But kudos to them for finding a way to win on the road because I didn't think they would. Thorne started making some plays, especially downfield. I was like, okay, they're picking on Kendall Dobie, number 26. I don't know his last name, but they just started like, hey, that's not target. They start throwing at him, and he gave up 2 long touchdowns and a couple of catches that game. And so, OU defense, man, they found a way to rally and make plays when they needed. Then the pick 6 was huge, man. Like, okay, good grief. Like, I thought they were dead in the waters, but they found a way to rally and win. So I thought 2 teams who probably matched, neither one of them don't know who their quarterback is or trying to find a quarterback. 2 good defenses. It was a hostile environment, but credit to OU for winning in that environment, honestly.
I think the fact that he did that at Auburn for his first start, and Auburn's flawed. Like, they're 2-3. They've lost both their conference games. Like, I'm not fooling Auburn for anything like a top-tier SEC team. But, a place where they hold 87,000 is a place where they hold 87,000. And that's not an easy location to make your first start. And, he handled it well. He made the plays, got some Peyton Thorne help, which seems to be pretty constant in his career. 3 touchdowns. Yeah, great completion percent. That 1 pick, and it was a pick 6.
Yeah.
And it was what broke them. Got one more SEC game to talk about, I think, but Nigel Robinson kind of makes a point now that we're looking ahead to Red River. How much rust will Quinn have for OU in 2 weeks? Charlie, when you're dealing with a quarterback, it's not like Quinn is sitting on the sidelines at practice, but it is a little bit of a different experience for him. How much rust do you think he'll have?
I think this bye week he'll kind of get thrown back into the mix because you don't have the game. He doesn't take any hits. He's not going to take any hits in practice. So I don't think he'll have much rust because he knows the offense, right? It's not one thing he has to learn something mentally and physically do it. Like, he's just about getting back out there and get reps thrown with the guys. And to have a whole week in the bye week to do that and running through everything you already know, I think he'd be fine. I don't think he'd have much rust. I think it'd just be game planning for OU. Like, what will they show? Will they show the same things on film that they've been showing? Will they do it in the game? I think that'd be another thing. But I don't think will be due to rust because we saw him come back his freshman year and light OU up, right? You know what I mean? So 49-0 game. And so I don't think he'll have much rust whatsoever because he's going to get a ton of reps in practice.
James, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Coach took the words right out of my mouth about 2022. Like, he came off of injury and they just lit him up. And also, I think it's like maybe the same thing. Like, do you think Quinn's going to have any rust in the season opener? At this point, like, he's such a well-oiled machine as a quarterback. Like, he knows the offense so well. It's not like he's stopped practicing or hasn't been watching film in the last couple of weeks or forgot the playbook. Yeah, I mean, if anything, maybe there'll be a slow start because OU's got a great defense. But barring any Red River chaos, I think things should be all right for him and for Texas in that one.
I'm worried about that OU defense. Am I tripping? No, it's a great defensive unit. Like, they've got quality defensive backs, and Billy Bowman and Peyton Bowen are good. They're Stutzman, as much as he is a heel of all heels for Texas football, he's a good player, and they've got some dudes on the D-line. Do you see it the same way, Charlie?
Yeah, look.
Yeah, Oklahoma's good at defense under Brett Venables.
Look, man, they got one guy on the D-line that – never mind. Anyway, they got some guys that their defense is good, especially the front seven. I think they lack at DB because they got so many injuries. But at safety, linebacker, and D-line, they're really, really good. And they got a really, really good scheme. It's kind of like the Mark two things. Brent Venables won't never have a really terrible defense. But now they got up front.
Yeah, offense is going to be a concern for them. That's a team. We talk about Texas needing to get healthy. Like, they don't have any wide receivers.
Yeah, or running game yesterday.
Yeah, they're going to work it out.
Quarterback,
honestly.
Hawkins is their running game, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the defense is great because that defense won them the game yesterday. Like with that, they stalled out for most of the second half of that game, and then all of a sudden they get a pick six, and there you go.
Yeah.
Did either of y'all put any eyes on Arkansas and A&M? I was going on at the same time.
Yeah, I watched that a little bit.
Any big takeaways?
I mean, not much to think about. Like, it was just kind of the Taylon Green experience. If many people have watched him, he's really fun to watch, and he was great against Oklahoma State. But then he just kind of has that like rookie Peyton Manning decision making, like we were talking about earlier with Arch in last week's game. But yeah, he was throwing some crazy passes into double and triple coverage deep downfield. It wasn't necessarily that A&M's like offense won them the game. Like there wasn't anything crazy impressive about Marcel Reed. He brings that dual threat ability. He didn't throw quite as well in this game. A&M's defense is probably the thing I'd be more worried about, and I'd say we should be more worried about going into Kyle Field than Arkansas. I think Arkansas had a little juice, but they're probably going to trail off towards that. In that point, it'll be back half of the season. They've got a tough schedule.
They just can't win in that building.
Yeah, for whatever reason.
What it is.
Or in the last,
I think once, and it was that 2021 year, and I think that's when Jimbo went 5-7 as well. Like, it's tough. All right, I think before we get out of here, there's another undefeated team that we got to talk about. And they also played a backup quarterback, but they put it on them, pulled away. Charlie, the Rebels of UNLV, 4-0.
Yeah, buddy. Look, man. Taj Mahal, I don't know. I posted this picture of him when Taj Mahal put his face on it. But look, it was a battle in fall camp between him and Sluka. He ended up kind of getting hurt, and so Sluka didn't won the job. But, man, they did put it on Fresno. Kept revenge, right? Because Fresno beat us at the last second last year. And so it was good to get revenge, but actually really just put it on them, like, blow those guys out. And we beat them by more than Michigan did, too. So, you know what I mean? But it was good to see the Fighting Rebels be 4-0. Shout out to Coach Odom, Coach Shear, and Brandon Marion, and offense, defense. Special teams, everybody played well yesterday. It was huge. I got a chance to watch that game as well. I had that in the Texas game up at the same time, actually, because I just wanted to see, because all eyes, ESPN talked about it, but everything that's going on, circus around in Vegas. So I wanted to see how they responded. But they did well, so it was good to see.
How about UNLV Syracuse Friday Night Lights coming up?
Yeah, I can't wait for that. That's going to be a good one, man.
That's going to be a fun game. I'll be watching that.
Yeah.
So maybe someday that'll be a conference game with the way things are moving.
Yeah, right.
James, any other games catch your eye?
This week, shoot, I'm trying to think. Baylor BYU was a tough one for me as well.
Happy birthday, Dave Aranda.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, Dave Aranda. Yeah, Joe, you texted Dave Aranda, newest Longhorns defensive analyst.
That was funny.
That might be coming to fruition. I watched Wisconsin USC, which was a good one. I mean, yeah, USC looks pretty good. I mean, there wasn't – Clemson is looking hot still. Illinois Penn State was a nice night game. I don't know if any of those caught your eye, but
I watched Arizona. That's a well-coached team. That was a good way to end the night. And then breaking news, Florida State is god-awful.
Yeah. DJU, I mean, looks like he should be playing at FCS. I feel bad for the guy. I mean, 12 of 30, like 3 picks. It's crazy to think at one point he was the number 2 quarterback in his class.
The thing is like Florida State made it very obvious that they thought schools like, SMU and Cal and Stanford were below them. I think they've put it into lawsuit writing, and then they just got the dog beaten out by SMU, or at least when Texas did it in their last season, they win the Big 12. So they put their money where their mouth was. So, guys, I think that'll do it for the day after. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and use the promo code IT1. Get yourself 2 months for just $1. Coach's poll is out. Texas is number 1. I think the AP poll is about to come out in a few minutes, so we shall see where the Longhorns are ranked. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.